Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to unpack one of the most foundational economic ideas in the Quran, and that's the really sharp, really clear line it draws between two completely different ways of making money. We're going straight to the source, Surah Al-Baqarah, to really get a handle on this blueprint for a just economy.
So let's start with the one question that really frames this whole thing. Is all financial gain created equal? I mean, is the profit you make from selling a product the same as the profit you make just by lending out money? Well, the Quran's answer is a huge resounding no, and it tells us exactly why.
And this table just lays out that core difference perfectly. On one side, you've got trade, or albay. This involves actual risk, real labor, and a genuine exchange of goods or services. It's all about creating value, right? It's what makes the economy go round. But then, on the other side, you have riba, or interest. And here, there's basically no real risk or labor for the person lending the money. It's just money making more money, all on its own, over time. It's a guaranteed surplus that's taken from the borrower, no matter what happens to their business.
All right, let's jump into our first section and see how the Quran itself lays all this out. We're going to start with the verse that really sets the stage for this whole economic philosophy. Now, what's so fascinating here is how this verse goes straight for the jugular. It pinpoints the exact excuse people use to justify riba. They say, hey, what's the big deal? Trade is just like riba. I mean, that's an argument we still hear today, right? Profit is profit. But the Quran's response is just so simple and absolute. Allah has permitted trade and has forbidden riba, period. It draws a crystal clear moral line in the sand. So here's the key takeaway. The Quran sees this argument coming from a mile away and just dismantles it from the get-go. It completely rejects the idea that profit is some morally neutral thing. How you make your money is just as important as how much you make. One way involves productive work and taking a risk together, but the other is seen as just an exploitative claim on somebody else's debt. And that brings us back to that really powerful Satan-touched metaphor from the verse. This isn't just some poetic flair, It's actually a diagnosis of a sick system. It symbolizes the instability, the imbalance that riba injects into society. It points to this kind of irrational greed, this obsession with just watching numbers go up, totally detached from any real value, that can possess people and entire economies and lead to total chaos, both socially and spiritually.
And this leads us right into our next section, which is all about the long-term effects on society. So if riba causes all this internal turmoil, what does it actually do to the economy as a whole?
So here, the Quran lays out this incredible, almost paradoxical economic principle. It says that Allah, or you could say the natural law of a just system, destroys riba. It cancels out its supposed benefits. But on the flip side, it causes charity, or sadaqah, to grow and multiply.
And this slide just breaks that spiritual and economic law down so well. See, riba looks like growth on a spreadsheet. The numbers are going up, yay! But the Quran argues that it's actually a destructive force. It's like a parasite that consumes real wealth from the productive parts of the economy and funnels it into just a few hands. Charity, though, is the total opposite. It might look like a personal loss, you're giving money away, but by circulating wealth and helping people out, it actually grows the entire economic pie for everyone. It builds a stronger, more connected society. Okay, so if a system built on riba is a no-go, then what's the alternative? The Quran doesn't just say don't do this, it gives a complete, positive vision for what to do instead. Let's see what that looks like. This verse gives us the blueprint for a person, and really a whole society, that's operating in a just and healthy way. And notice how it mixes everything together. You've got economic actions, like doing righteous work and giving zakat, right alongside spiritual practices, like belief and prayer. The message is pretty clear. You can't have a healthy economy without a healthy spiritual and social life. They're totally connected. So here they are, the 4 pillars laid out for us. It all starts with faith, your basic belief system. Then comes righteous work, your ethical business and labor. That's all grounded by prayer, that spiritual connection that helps keep our greed in check. And finally, the whole thing is balanced by zakat. And let's be super clear, where sadaqah is voluntary, zakat is a systemic, required circulation of wealth. It's an institution designed to make sure that money keeps moving and doesn't just pile up with the rich. All right, now the tone of the Quran is about to shift dramatically. It goes from explaining and teaching to delivering one of the most severe warnings you'll find anywhere in the entire text. This isn't some abstract idea for the future. This is an immediate, hands-on command for right now. The verse is demanding that believers just let it go, forgive and forget any outstanding interest payments that are owed to them.
It's calling for a hard reset on the whole system, basically wiping the slate clean of all existing riba-based debt.
And if you refuse to do that, well, this is the consequence: a war from Allah and His Messenger. This is, without a doubt, the most intense language used in the Quran for any kind of financial sin. It frames the whole system of riba not as just a bad idea, but as an open rebellion against a just and divine order. But even then, it offers a way out. Repent, and you get your principal back. Your original investment is safe.
And this brings us to the absolute core of it all, the principle that's summarized perfectly by this Arabic phrase, La tazlimuna wa la tuzlamun. This is the golden rule of financial justice in the Quran. Neither do wrong nor be wronged. It's so simple and so profound. You have every right to get your original money back, but you have no right to take more by taking advantage of the borrower. It's a perfect, equitable balance.
So after laying out the big picture philosophy and those incredibly serious warnings, the Quran then gets super practical. It gives us a detailed blueprint for how to handle debt, day to day, in an ethical way.
Wow. I mean, this is mercy written directly into contract law. If a person who owes you money is going through a tough time, your obligation isn't to crush them with more fees and interest. It's to give them a break. Give them a postponement until they can get back on their feet. And then the verse takes it a step further. It says the best thing you can do, if you're able, is to just forgive the debt entirely as an act of charity. It frames it as something that's actually better for you, the creditor, in the long run.
Now get this, we're about to talk about the longest verse in the entire Quran. And what's it about? Financial contracts. That alone tells you how incredibly important clarity and transparency are in all of this. And the core command is as simple as it gets: write everything down. And this slide just sums up all the key rules from that super long verse and the one right after it. Be meticulous. Write it down, no matter how small. Have it witnessed by people you trust. And this isn't about not trusting each other. It's about protecting justice and making sure there are no arguments later. But at the end of the day, the text reminds us that even with the best contracts in the world, the final thing holding it all together is your own conscience, your accountability to God.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. This table puts it all side by side one last time. On one side, you've got the forbidden model, riba. It's based on a guaranteed surplus which leads to exploiting people's needs and concentrating wealth. On the other side, you have all the permitted models, trade, which is based on risk and labor, charity, based on goodwill, and of course interest-free loans, which are all about helping each other out. These models circulate wealth and are guided by two beautiful principles, justice and mercy. And that leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. You know, these principles we've been talking about are over 1,400 years old. But in our modern global economy, which is so deeply built on interest at every single level, what would it actually look like to build a system based on these other foundations, on shared risk, on active charity, and on real financial justice? That's the challenge these verses leave with us today.